Welcome to Co-Pilot Podcasts. Here's a number that should make you put down your coffee. The average employee is only genuinely productive for 2 hours and 53 minutes out of a full 8-hour workday. That means most of us are burning through more than 60% of our working hours on basically nothing. Today, we're getting into discipline and habit building, specifically what the science actually says about willpower, why your daily systems either make or break you, and what high performers are doing that most people aren't. By the end of this episode, you'll know why the 21 days to build a habit thing is a myth, how to design your environment to do the heavy lifting for you, and what separates a ritual from just a routine. I've got someone here who's been deep in this research, so let's just get right into it. What's the single biggest misconception people carry into this whole discipline conversation?
The biggest one, hands down, is that discipline is about willpower. That if you just want it badly enough, you'll push through. And that model is not only wrong, it's actually setting people up to fail.
Okay, that's a strong claim. Because willpower is kind of the whole story we tell ourselves, right? Like, I just need more of it.
Right, and that's exactly the trap. Simply Psychology published a piece in 2026 that put it really cleanly. People with high self-discipline don't succeed by resisting temptation more heroically. They succeed by designing their lives so they encounter fewer temptations in the first place. Discipline is system design, not inner strength.
System design. I like that framing. So before we get into the how, let's actually ground this. What even is a habit, technically? Because I feel like people use habit and routine and ritual kind of interchangeably.
Yeah, they're related but meaningfully different. A habit in the psychological literature is essentially automatic behavior triggered by a cue in a specific context. It doesn't require conscious decision-making once it's formed. A routine is more of a sequence of intentional actions. And a ritual, this is interesting, is a purposeful behavior that signals the brain to enter a specific mental state, like focus or calm.
So a ritual is almost like a psychological on switch.
Exactly. And research backs that up. A Harvard Business School study found that rituals actually ease performance anxiety and stress responses. The Journal of Experimental Psychology found they reinforce goal-oriented behaviors. So when high performers have these very specific pre-work rituals, it's not just quirky, it's functional.
Okay, so now I want to tackle the myth you mentioned, the 21 days thing. Where did that even come from, and why is it so sticky?
It got misattributed and oversimplified over decades, but the actual research tells a very different story. Philippa Lally at University College London ran what's probably the most cited study in habit formation literature. She tracked 96 participants trying to build a new daily behavior and measured when it became automatic. The average, 66 days, not 21.
That's more than 3 times longer.
And it gets more nuanced. The range in Lally's study was 18 to 254 days. So some people hit automaticity in under 3 weeks, others took the better part of a year. It depended on the complexity of the behavior and individual differences. The point is, there's no universal timeline.
And I imagine that range matters a lot psychologically. Like, if someone's at day 25 and they don't feel like the habit has clicked yet, they might just give up thinking they failed.
That's exactly the danger. Dr. James Whitfield, a neuroscientist who reviewed 30 habit formation studies published between 1990 and 2024, made this point directly. The myth persists because it's simple and satisfying, but it doesn't match what the research shows. And when people don't feel automatic after 3 weeks, they assume something's wrong with them.
So the goal isn't repetition for its own sake, it's something else.
Right. Whitfield's review was clear on this. The goal is automaticity, not repetition. Repetition is just the mechanism. Automaticity is when the behavior happens with minimal conscious thought or effort. That's the actual finish line.
And Lally found that automaticity increases in a curve, not a straight line, right? So there's this slow build and then it kind of accelerates.
Exactly. Which means the early days feel the hardest, and that's when most people quit, right before the curve starts to bend in their favor.
Okay, so if repetition alone isn't the driver, what actually is? What makes a habit stick?
Context. That's the single most consistent finding across habit research, according to Whitfield's review of those 30 studies. Habits are driven more by environmental context than by internal motivation. The time of day, the physical location, what you did right before, all of that creates a web of cues that trigger behavior, often without any conscious decision.
Wait, so the environment is doing more work than my motivation is?
In the long run, yes. There's a landmark study by Wendy Wood and David Neal, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 2007, that demonstrated this really elegantly. They tracked college students who transferred to a new university. Students whose new environment was similar to their old one, same gym layout, same cafeteria setup, maintained their exercise and eating habits. Students whose environment changed, even though their intentions and motivation were identical, saw their habits collapse.
So the habits didn't travel with the person, they stayed with the place.
Precisely. And the implication is huge. If you want to build a new habit, design your environment to support it. If you want to break one, change the environment that sustains it. Motivation is useful for starting, but context is what keeps a behavior running.
This actually makes me think about some of the high performers we know about. Like, Maya Angelou famously wrote exclusively in hotel rooms. She'd rent a room just to write, no distractions, same setup every time. That's not a quirk, that's deliberate context engineering.
It's a perfect real-world example of exactly what the Wood and Neal research predicts. She created a consistent context that cued the creative behavior. Victor Hugo did something similar. He wrote in isolation to stay focused. These aren't accidents.
And then there's Jack Dorsey, who apparently assigned a theme to each day of the week. Mondays for company management, Tuesdays for product work. That's a structural version of the same idea, right? He's not relying on willpower to decide what to focus on. The day itself tells him.
Exactly, and that connects to something really important about decision fatigue. Every time you have to decide what to do next, you're burning cognitive resources. Dorsey's system eliminates that decision entirely. The structure does the thinking.
Okay, let's pivot into the willpower science more directly, because I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up. There's this famous theory, ego depletion, that says willpower is like a muscle that gets tired. Is that actually true?
It's complicated. Roy Baumeister's ego depletion theory was hugely influential. The idea that willpower is a finite resource that fatigues with use. It made intuitive sense, but according to Simply Psychology's 2026 analysis, subsequent replications found mixed evidence. The theory hasn't held up cleanly.
So the muscle metaphor might be off?
More recent research suggests that what we call willpower is better understood as a combination of things: environmental design, habit strength, meaning automatic behaviors that don't require conscious decision-making, motivation and identity, and state factors like sleep, stress, and blood sugar. It's not one thing, it's a system.
And Angela Duckworth's work fits into this, right? She's the grit researcher.
Yes, Duckworth's research at the University of Pennsylvania found that the most effective self-control strategy is what she calls situational self-control. Structuring your environment in advance to make desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder. So it's not about white-knuckling through temptation, it's about removing the temptation from the equation.
Give me a concrete example of that.
Sure. Put your workout clothes by your bed the night before. Keep healthy food at eye level in the fridge. Delete social media apps from your phone, because reinstalling takes effort, and that friction is enough to break the impulse. The Simply Psychology piece put it well. Studies show environmental design outperforms motivational strategies in producing lasting behavior change. The investment is upfront, the benefit is ongoing.
That's such a reframe, because we're always told to be more disciplined, but what you're describing is more like be a better architect of your own life.
That's a great way to put it. And here's a stat that really underscores why this matters. According to Acuity Training Research, 82% of people have no time management system at all. So most people aren't lazy, they're just operating without any architecture for their day.
82%. That's wild. And it connects back to that opening number, 2 hours and 53 minutes of actual productivity out of 8 hours. If you have no system, you're basically just reacting all day.
Exactly. And the research backs up what a system can do. A meta-analysis published in PLOS ONE found that structured time management is moderately but consistently related to job performance, academic achievement, and overall well-being. It's not a silver bullet, but it's one of the most reliable levers we have.
So what does a good daily system actually look like? Like, what are the building blocks?
One of the most evidence-backed starting points is planning the night before. Research cited by habitstreak.com found that 75% of people who prepared the night before reported higher satisfaction with their work, and 60% felt more productive the following day. And there's a psychological mechanism behind it. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain processes upcoming tasks during sleep when you've already named them.
So your brain is literally doing prep work while you sleep.
That's the idea. And then there's the principle of starting with your hardest task first, tackling the most cognitively demanding work when your mental resources are freshest. That's another habit that consistently shows up in high performer research.
I want to come back to something you said earlier about rituals specifically, because I think there's a difference between just having a routine and having something that actually primes your brain. How do high performers use rituals differently?
The key distinction is intentionality. According to Power of Positivity's analysis of successful people's habits, rituals work best when they're intentional, not accidental. They're less about how long they take and more about how grounded and repeatable they are. They condition the brain to expect and perform.
And the research on rituals reducing anxiety is interesting too. Like, it's not just about productivity, it's about emotional regulation.
Right. The Harvard Business School study found rituals ease performance anxiety and stress responses. Frontiers in Psychology links regular rituals with better time management and output. And behavioral and brain sciences found they improve adaptability and stress tolerance. So rituals are doing multiple jobs at once. They're not just productivity hacks.
Let me push back a little here though, because there's a version of this conversation that becomes very optimize everything, wake up at 4 a.m., cold plunge, meditate for an hour. And that feels exhausting and kind of unrealistic for most people.
That's a fair pushback, and the research actually supports your skepticism. Habitstreak.com made this point explicitly. These habits are learnable, stackable, and do not require a 4 a.m. alarm. The goal isn't to copy someone else's routine wholesale, it's to understand the principles and apply them to your own context.
And the high performers we know about don't all follow the same template, right? Like, Oprah doesn't use an alarm, she wakes up naturally and meditates. Picasso painted from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then again until 3 a.m. Coco Chanel was a night owl who worked late with almost no breaks.
Exactly. The common thread isn't the specific schedule, it's the intentionality and consistency. They all had a system that worked for them and they protected it. That's the transferable lesson.
There's also something interesting about discipline not being a fixed personality trait. Like, we tend to think some people are just disciplined people and others aren't.
And that framing is actually harmful. Research published in the European Journal of Physical Education and Sports Science by Arman Sargsyan in 2026 made this point clearly. Discipline is not a personality trait that one is born with. It's a learned behavior reinforced through routine, consequence, and what the paper calls corporeal knowledge, basically. Knowledge that lives in the body through repeated practice.
So it's more like a skill than a character trait.
Exactly. And that's actually empowering because skills can be built.
The Sargsyan paper was looking at organized sport as a discipline-building institution, the argument being that sport places youth under a schedule of training, authority, accountability, and failure, and those repetitive systems teach discipline that carries into adulthood, independent of athletic outcomes. That's a really interesting angle, that the value of youth sports might have less to do with the sport itself and more to do with the structure it imposes.
That's the paper's central argument. And it connects to something Wendy Wood's research at USC found, that habits and deliberate goal pursuit work synergistically, but habits are the efficient default mode of response. Once you've built the structure, it carries you even when motivation dips.
Which is kind of the whole point, right? You build the system so you don't have to rely on feeling motivated.
That's the core insight. Motivation is a terrible daily driver. It fluctuates. Systems don't, or at least they fluctuate a lot less. The research from Wood and Runger's annual review of psychology piece put it this way. Habits are the efficient default mode of response. They're what you fall back on when everything else is uncertain.
And I think that reframes the whole conversation around failure too. Like, if you miss a day, you haven't broken the habit, you've just had a gap in the system.
Lally's research actually addressed this. She found that missing one day didn't significantly derail the automaticity curve. The habit formation process is more resilient than people think. It's the sustained abandonment that kills it, not a single slip.
That's genuinely reassuring. Okay, so let's start pulling this together, because we've covered a lot of ground. The myth of 21 days, the role of context and environment, the limits of willpower, what rituals actually do. What's the through line here?
The through line is this. Stop trying to be a more disciplined person and start building a more disciplined environment. The research consistently points in the same direction. Context over motivation, systems over willpower, automaticity over sheer repetition.
And the actionable version of that is design your environment, plan the night before, start with your hardest task, And give yourself more than 21 days.
Give yourself 66 days on average and up to 254 if the behavior is complex. And track it, not to judge yourself, but to see the curve bending, because it will bend.
So when you step back from everything we've covered today, here's what really stands out to me. We've been sold a story about discipline that puts all the pressure on the individual, on their grit, their willpower, their character. But the science is telling a completely different story.
It really is. The research from Wendy Wood, from Philippa Lally, from Angela Duckworth, it all converges on the same idea. The people who seem the most disciplined aren't white-knuckling their way through every day. They've built environments and systems that make the right behavior the easiest behavior.
And that 82% stat, 82% of people with no time management system, that's not a moral failing. That's just a design gap. And design gaps can be fixed.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is that once a behavior becomes automatic, once it hits that automaticity threshold, it stops costing you. It just runs. That's the payoff for the investment up front.
Here's what I'd leave people with. You don't need a complete life overhaul. You need one system. Plan tomorrow tonight. Put one thing in your environment that makes the right choice easier. And then give it time. Real time, not 21 days.
And be patient with the curve. The early days are the hardest precisely because the habit hasn't become automatic yet. That discomfort isn't a sign you're failing, it's a sign you're still in the building phase.
Remember that number we opened with? 2 hours and 53 minutes of real productivity out of 8 hours? That's not a talent problem, that's a system problem. And system problems have system solutions. Thanks for listening to Copilot Podcasts.